Welcome to Knights of Roleplay, an adventuring podcast. This is an actual play 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons podcast. Royalty-free music provided by Kevin MacLeod, Plate Mail Games, and Tabletop Audio. And now, to adventure. Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Buckner. I'm the primary Dungeon Master for Knights of Roleplay and Adventuring podcast. This session is being recorded over Zoom. As our adventure begins, it is Stardate 0226.80. Arvine's god Mayaheen had given her a vision of a distant space station and the knowledge that there was a great evil on board. The party traveled with the crew of the Star Runner to investigate the station and found cult activity had taken place in the name of Orcus, the demon prince of undeath. They fought a variety of undead, including a skeletal cult member who managed to set the self-destruct sequence on the station before escaping in a dragonfly ship. The party and the Star Runner escaped the exploding space station. After 3 days of travel back toward the Rock of Brawl, the party and other members of the crew began having nightmares and hallucinations similar to the ones experienced on the derelict dwarven ship they explored 6 weeks earlier. They had found a strange living rock on the dwarven ship. Suspecting it as the source of the hallucinations, the party searched the Star Runner and found evidence of the black rock growing on the hull and on one of the lifeboats. The crew set about repairing the lifeboat and cutting a hole from the hull to fully remove the infection of the strange black rock. The Star Runner has resumed its course to the Rock of Brawl. 11 days of travel still remain. After 5 days of travel, on Stardate 0301.80, the ship's pilot Hal, making her voice heard by all those on the main deck, says, "Captain Braun, there appears to be a concentrated pocket of nothingness directly in our path. There is an outer edge that loosely defines its shape, but the interior is a black void. How would you like me to proceed?" Braun says, "Steer the Star Runner around the void, Hal." Hal says, "Changing course, Captain Braun." Everyone on the main deck moves toward the bow of the ship to get a better look at the void. You all see it, although from your current distance, it is difficult to make out any detail. However, you do see the shape move into the Star Runner's new flight path. Hal says, "Captain Braun." Braun interrupts her, saying, "I see it, Hal. He turns to the party and says, "What do you make of that?"
So would any of us, maybe me and Matisse, who've traveled around a little bit more, have any familiarity with something like this? Or
let's see. Make a spatial phenomenon check.
Investigation.
really?
So is that under charisma?
You can generally make an intelligence check to recall information.
Oh boy, that's
So
not my strong
if
suit.
anybody would like to make an intelligence check.
Okay.
Can I add in my Arcana or?
No, there really isn't anything. I mean, I suppose nature could possibly, although it's, of a space nature, but it's
natural.
natural-ish, possibly. I will allow people to make a straight intelligence check or nature with disadvantage.
Or nature with
Okay.
disadvantage.
All right.
I'll just do straight intelligence.
2.
So Arvine, our Asimar fighter, has no idea.
18.
Nice job,
18
Strax.
from Strax, our Hobgoblin Artificer.
21.
Ooh,
Yeah,
21
Janie.
From
Janie's
Janie, our
heard some
Kalashtar
things.
sorcerer.
Sorcerer training, man.
And Matisse, did you make an intelligence check or a nature check?
No, because it would be a minus for me, and that wouldn't be helpful.
But you could roll like a 20.
If you roll a 20, it might still be like a
All right.
19. Yeah.
I'll try.
I rolled a 20, just saying.
Nice. Somebody,
I rolled a 10.
somebody had to offset my 3.
Well, yeah, you did better than RV.
All right. So, Janie, you got a 20 something?
A 21.
A 21.
Yeah,
21.
for the win.
So you
Sorry, I'm
don't
playing with my dice.
you don't know specifically. I mean, you are aware of essentially like black hole phenomenon, which is not something which a lot of people aren't necessarily familiar with unless they spend a lot of time traveling in space. Your best guess is that it might be something of that nature, but you're not aware of them like moving to intercept a ship that's trying to course correct. So the closest thing you can think of is that maybe it's something black hole related, but everyone just saw it move to get in front of the ship, so you're not exactly sure. But if you want to share that information, you can.
Oh, I remember learning about black holes at the academy, but they're not sentient. They shouldn't be moving in our path.
Seems weird. I turn to Matisse and go, Matisse, is this anything that maybe your memory ability would help with? I guess not if it's not tied to strong emotions, though, but I don't know. If this is something sentient.
I don't know. Let me think about that. I'll concentrate and see if anything comes to my mind.
So, Greg, if you're referring to Memory of 1,000 Lifetimes, is that what you're referring to? Or
Yes.
So that is basically used to get.
Okay, from a place and whatever.
It's tied to strong emotions. So
Okay.
you would get an area around you on the ship right now where something with
Right.
strong emotions happened. So you don't think that would work for this thing that's out in space somewhere.
Okay.
So, yeah. If that void is like eating other ships, it's like, I don't know if that would be strong or not, but it probably wouldn't show up. So,
I would
Oh,
think
are
you'd
we
have to
still
scan the void to know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Hal,
Yeah,
are we still
I
moving
don't-
closer to that?
I don't read anything from it, so I can't tell you why.
Currently, Strax, I have stopped the ship and I am waiting instructions.
And it's not still pursuing us. It just moved into our way.
It just moved into our way, Janie.
Captain, may I suggest backing off a bit and seeing how it reacts?
Sure. Hal, why don't you turn the ship around and head back in the direction we came for just a short period of time? And Hal responds, yes, Captain Braun. So the ship slowly turns around, and you actually you see as the ship is course correcting, like it doesn't move very fast. It doesn't spin very fast. And basically you see as it gets to about like 45 degrees, the void starts to move to kind of match the way that it's turning. It doesn't do it right away,
Oh, boy.
but as it gets to about 45 degrees, then it starts to follow the direction of where it's pointing.
It looks like it's not going to give us a choice.
Let me check my equipment here for a minute.
Trying to think if there'd be any way to try to communicate with something like this, but
It's still a fair distance away, but you can certainly
Yeah.
offer any sorts of suggestions that you want.
I guess I'd turn to Braun and be like, do you think any of the rest of your crew have encountered a large sentient object or being like this, or heard of it through their cultures or something? Would they know how to communicate if this is something sentient?
Good question. Maybe like rumors or folklore.
Yeah, folklore, basically. Yeah, there's a lot of different races represented on the ship.
I mean, he turns to the crew and, he says, almost matter-of-factly, as if he expects this, but he says out loud, if anybody has any information about this, please feel free to share. But people are just sort of shaking their heads, and there's some murmuring among different crew members and stuff like that, and they seem to be asking each other, if they've heard of this or seen anything like this, but nobody says anything. Nobody steps up and says anything about it.
It's probably more than 30 feet away right now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Were you thinking detect magic or something, John?
Yeah.
Do you want to get closer? I mean, there's a chance if we get closer, it just moves towards us. But
Why it's closer? I want to hit it with my sword. No.
Captain Braun says, well, there doesn't seem to be a way to avoid it at this point in time. So, Hal, why don't you move us in slowly toward it, and maybe we can learn something if we are a little closer to it.
How about sending? Well,
yes, Drax.
How about sending some volunteers in on a lifeboat with a tether?
That is a possibility, but I would like to try to.
Better to risk the goblin than to risk the entire ship.
I don't want to sacrifice anybody. So let's just get the ship a little closer.
That's what the goblin's for, isn't it?
No.
Can I cast magic mist into the darkness?
Magic
I'm attacking the darkness.
yeah, but we don't know if it's good or bad. That's I'd feel bad if it was.
We don't want
Ron tells Hal to move the ship closer, and she does. So, she crawls up to it like really slowly. It takes about maybe 15 minutes. And she gets up to it and she stops maybe a couple 100 feet away from it.
Now, can anything be seen through it, or is it just like is it different than the fabric of space? I guess is my question.
It's the darkness, Charlie Murphy.
So essentially, the way that Hal described it as having like a border, like the border almost has like a faint glow to it, and it's like a very misshapen sort of a circle, and inside of it you don't see any stars. Outside of the border, there's blackness and there's stars. Inside of the border of this object, it is black, but there is no stars.
Okay, so it's opaque and not transparent.
It's just black. When you look into it, all you see is black.
Okay.
The only reason why I'd be able to even know it's there is because of the absence of stars or because there is a very faint glowing border around the edge.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Braun has Hal move up a little bit closer, so she gets within about like 100 feet.
All right. Before we get too much closer,
yes, Drax.
Quick question. I don't know if anybody has the light cantrip, but I have the ability to make an object that can produce a little bit of light, kind of like what I did for that pendant.
Doesn't
Janie? Would it be something that somebody, even though it only casts a 5-foot radius light, would it be something that could be seen from farther away?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do have, Janie and I both have light, so if you want us to...
I have light, so we could make a 20-foot radius of dim light.
And I would probably know that you
bright light.
could do that, Janie.
Yeah, we've both done that in front of you before.
Oh, that's right, you did.
Yeah.
Here. Let's pick up a little piece of whatever.
Rock.
Rock on a ship.
Not our bolts,
trying to find like an object or something?
Rock!
You could like take a coin out of your pouch or something.
Something like that. Yeah, okay. That'd be fun. Say, hey, Janie, can you illuminate this for me? I want to try something. All right. Matisse, I think you got a good throw in an arm. How hard can you throw this?
Oh, I can throw it pretty hard, so let me toss it out and see how far it goes.
Okay, so hold on. Before you do that, Janie, Sarah, do you have the light spell right in front of you there? Can you...
Yep.
What's the range?
Range... Touched, it's 20 feet of bright light and additional feet of dim light. It doesn't have a range for how far away the spell can be.
Okay. I'm just gonna take another.
It says you touch one object that's no larger than 10 feet in any dimension. Until the spell ends, the object sheds bright light in a 20-foot radius, dim light for an additional 20 feet. The light can be colored as you like, completely covering the object with something opaque blocks it. And the spell ends if you cast it again or dismiss it as an action. If you target an object held or worn by a hostile creature, that creature must succeed on a dexterity saving throw to avoid.
Okay, so it doesn't have
say
a range.
anything about keeping it touch.
Okay, so Greg, Matisse is going to throw the coin.
Yes.
Okay. So you chuck the coin off the bow of the ship, and basically, it goes flying in an arc as you would expect, and then eventually it drops down to where the gravity plane of the ship is, and it hits the gravity plane, and it kind of sinks below the gravity plane a little bit, and then kind of comes back up over the gravity plane, and then back down again, and like the arc starts to get like shallower and shallower until eventually it's just right along the gravity plane, and it's moving steadily along the gravity plane, and eventually it hits the outer edge of the air envelope of the ship, and it slowly starts to move out into wild space, the coin, and it's glowing and you can see it, and eventually, it takes a little while, but it eventually does get to the shape, and then suddenly the light goes away.
Well, that's not promising.
So basically,
Either the coin or your arm strength. I was hoping that would go a little
Well,
faster.
it went into it, but it
so it
didn't.
absorbed the light from the coin.
Yeah.
Right. It did cross over. It appears that it crossed over the barrier of the border, and then the light just went down.
Interesting.
Well, at least the coin didn't blow up.
So we see no form of light at all after it entered the
Yeah.
thing.
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
What if we launch something from one of the ballistas with a rope attached to it and see if we can bring back whatever's on the rope? Or if it
Okay.
just like that would give us an idea of if it's a portal or something that you can get back through, or a one-way thing that you can't get back through.
Really, I'm missing those cannons now.
Well, the ballista is probably safer because, again, if it's a sentient being, even the ballistas give me some pause because I don't want to attack without knowing exactly what it is that we're dealing with, but I also want to be able to put something out there with some force with a rope on it so we can try to bring it back and see what happens. Does Braun have any other suggestions? I share this idea with him, and I say, I don't want to feel like we're attacking it. Could we launch, does somebody have a slingshot or a catapult or something that would maybe let us launch a rock instead of an arrow with a rope attached to it or something? Or
There is basically a catapult on the ship,
Okay.
and there are rocks that are used for warfare.
Hey, I'm all for attacking it.
Do we have
obviously
any-
being antagonistic?
Well, we don't know what its intentions are yet, so I think that might be a
Nor
little
do we
rash.
know what it could do. It could suck us all in like it did the light there.
Yeah. So is there any projectiles that we could put in the catapult that has something we could attach a rope to?
Well, you could do it with either a rock, or you could do it with a ballista bolt. It doesn't matter which.
Yeah.
You can just tie a rope on it.
Yeah, let's try tying a rope to a rock, like a rope sling, basically, so it's well encased and less likely to come untied, and then launch it and see what happens.
So
And cast light on it, too.
with regard to the void, you're gonna hit it with a rock.
Yes.
That is correct. And I cast light on the rock.
Okay. So basically, let's see.
So it's a tracer round.
Well, yeah. We're just scaling up from what the first attempt was.
So you cast light on the rock, you get the rope around it, and typically a rope is about 50 feet, And
Well-
obviously, this is a sailing ship, so they have rope that's much longer. But that
Right.
rope generally tends to be much thicker. But at the very least, you could take some of the thinner rope and you could tie a couple lengths of it together. So
Yeah.
So Braun has Hal move the ship up to about like 60 feet,
Okay.
and then you put a couple of ropes together and tie it around the rock and put it in the into the catapult. There's actually a name for it. I think it's called like, this is gonna sound weird, but I think it's called like a mongrel or something like that. I think is what it is. But
The catapult?
it's basically a catapult, yeah. But I think that the name of it is a mongrel or something.
Is
like
it
that.
on the ship diagram?
No, we're going to use a different ship diagram.
Oh.
So, but yeah, so you launch the rock and basically it flies out in this big arc and it gets to the edge of the air envelope of the ship. And then it gets taken over by the gravity or lack thereof in wild space. And then it floats out and you can obviously see this very big glowing rock, and it goes through basically the border of this shape and disappears, and the rope is still being pulled, and eventually the rope gets to its full length and it becomes taut.
Okay. So I guess let's try to retrieve it next and see what happens.
Okay, well, where is the rope anchored?
Probably
I don't
to
know,
the ballista
probably-
itself.
The ballista itself are kind of up at the bow. So what point of the ship is closest to the void? That's probably where I would anchor it.
Well, I mean, the bow, the front of the ship is just pointing straight at it.
Right. So I would anchor it somewhere up at the bow if there's a good solid tie down point, like maybe in the anchor assembly or something like that. Something that's strong.
Drax would object to that
Oh.
in the event that something decides to pull, because we may not be the only things that can pull on the rope.
Well, we can cut it very quickly if we have to.
So tell me how you anchored it, if you anchored it at all.
we did anchor it.
Okay, so tell
But
me how.
okay, so Strax, if you don't approve of the bow, where would you have anchored it?
Someplace. Let me pull out the.
So, does this thing have a sense of gravity to it? Is it like kind of like a black hole of some, where it pulls things in?
Well,
If
Janie's the only person that really knows all that much.
Oh,
about black holes.
okay, got it.
And right now you're
Well,
60 feet. You're 60 feet from it, and the ship is just. It's not
Staying
being,
there.
based
it's
on
not
what
being
we
pulled
see,
by
and the only gravity I can see out here right now is the gravity of our own ship. Once beyond
Hmm.
that, it just kind of seems doesn't seem to be sucking anything in, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out, since
Right.
it seems like it's pulling in the rope taut. So
Well, it's
I guess I don't see any better place to anchor it other than the rigging, and that would be a bad idea.
no bad idea. Breaking mass is bad.
So where is it
Alright.
anchored?
So at the bow.
At the bow.
Well, we got the jib boom.
haha.
Okay.
Well, I would anchor on a metal point somewhere back on the edge of the ship or the decking. So something strong.
Forward railing.
So that's no. I would like. There's got to be actual tie downs. It's a ship.
We anchor it to the ship.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine.
The
Um,
below decks.
So the ship suddenly lurches forward as the rope
Oh.
starts to pull.
Hmm.
Okay.
Do it.
But the rope
Can we-
very quickly starts to fray because
Okay.
the ship, the Star Runner, has a lot of weight to it, even though it is in space.
Okay.
But right now it has its own gravity within its air envelope.
So do we get the sense that this is now not just the innate momentum of the ball itself, but something has actually taken hold and is pulling it?
You don't think that the weight of that projectile could pull the entire ship? No.
Okay. All right.
So,
So,
that seems
yeah.
very odd.
All right. So
So, cut
run
the
over to the rope with the wakizashi and
Yeah.
slash.
Okay.
Slash it.
So you cut the rope, which was already starting to kind of like pull apart a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
And you see the rope kind of fall down to the gravity plane and move steadily across the gravity plane and just get pulled into the void.
Like spaghetti.
All right.
And then it appears that the void is getting bigger.
Oh boy.
And then, the thought occurs to you, well, wait a minute, maybe it's getting closer. And then it like envelops the entire ship.
Oh.
So,
no chance to do anything.
Well, damn.
so as the Star Runner is sitting motionless in front of this void, the black shape suddenly envelops the ship, and all around you there's this black cloudy miasma. You see nothing but the black clouds, which seem to be a few hundred feet from the Star Runner.
Okay.
Captain Braun says, Hal, what happened? And Hal doesn't respond.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
If anybody sees my coin, let me know. I'd like to get that back.
So Braun turns to Arvine and says, Arvine, would you mind checking on Hal in the Spelljammer helm room, please?
Yeah, I can do that. So, let's see here. Matisse, you want to come with me for that?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So
the two of you go
Yeah.
down to the Spelljammer helm room,
okay.
and you open the door, and you see Hal sitting there. She's basically in the chair with the Spelljamming helm on her head,
Okay.
and she says, I think that communications have been somehow severed. Were you not hearing me?
No, we weren't. The Braun sent me to check on you because he tried radioing you. Topside, it looks like we're in the middle of this cloud. It basically swallowed us. We can see this kind of dark stuff all around the ship, maybe some darker clouds a couple hundred feet out. So what were you trying to say?
I was trying to ask what happened, because it looked to me from the way that I see from the point of view of the ship that maybe it had enveloped the ship, but I was looking to see if I could get a confirmation, but nobody was answering me.
Yeah. How
Notice-
far is... Go ahead. Sorry, Matisse, go ahead.
Do you notice anything about how she looks? Like, does she a little bit different to us, or...
Talking about Hal?
Yeah. Like, was she affected in some way by being enveloped by the amoeba or whatever?
She appears to be fine. I mean, you've
Okay.
been,
Okay.
you've been on the crew for at least 6 weeks at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, typically you haven't been down here while she's at the helm, but it's conceivable that you may have visited her once or twice while she was down there. And I mean, everything looks fine. She
Yeah.
just for some reason was not able to use the sort of like the magical communication of the ship.
So how far is the helm room from the deck?
It is at the back of the ship, from what I understand.
Okay.
If I'm remembering.
So is that like 100 feet, 50 feet? Like,
That is like 5, 10, 15, 20, 40. It's about 80 feet.
okay.
So I ask Hal, does everything else seem to be working properly now? You said that communications wasn't working. Is there anything else that's not working properly?
I'm still trying to get communications working. Please feel free to go back and tell Braun that I am okay, and that I will try to get communications up and running as soon as I can.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we'll go head back up to the deck, find Braun, and tell him that she's okay, and that it just appears that communications are down.
Right? He's happy to hear that Hal is okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
I mean, in the worst case, we could probably rig some cups and strings, right? Like do something rudimentary, but that's like
What?
I'm not
Play
lying. They
telephone?
used to use that stuff, right? That's
Where's my pea soup can?
Telephone.
that is what they used.
Janie, do you still have that glowing necklace I put together for you? Is it still glowing?
Is that one of your infusions?
Yeah, it's one of my magical tinkering.
Did you turn
things.
off my
it's
false?
a minor magical effect.
Did you turn off my false beacon?
I can't turn it on and off. It just is.
Oh, okay.
I'm not intimately familiar with the rules for your trinkets, but I think they are
It's just
permanent as long as you don't get rid of them.
correct.
Right.
But it's a magical effect. So I was just wondering.
Oh yes,
if,
yes. I understand.
He's
what
wondering
you're
if it's still lit. I think he's asking you that.
Yes. It is still lit. The magic has not been snuffed out
Yes.
by whatever
Yeah.
this is, and you also don't.
I'm still lit.
Place is lit.
You don't see the glowing coin, and you don't see the glowing rock.
Okay.
Damn it.
But to be clear, this miasma that's surrounding the ship, it's not interfering with our ability to see people kind of within the air pocket on our ship, right?
Correct.
We
I
can
mean
still-
correct.
Miasma.
The
That's
air
a fancy
envelope.
word.
Yeah, right. The air envelope of the ship is intact. The gravity plane, as far as you know, is still there. The gravity hasn't changed, and basically you're just surrounded by this just these weird clouds, these weird, dark clouds
Yeah.
that are just kind of all around the ship in every direction, and like they're moving in such a way that you I mean, obviously when you're in space, you don't really have an up or a down unless you are next to an object in space or another ship or a planet or something. But in
Right.
here, it's even more disorienting because the clouds are just moving and shifting all around you in every direction, and it definitely gives you more of a feeling that you're like, which way is up? This is really weird.
Now that
What's
we're-
who's it and who's what's it?
now that we're in it, are we sensing anything about it or from it?
No, nothing has changed. As far as you know, everything is perfectly fine. You're just inside of whatever this is. The one thing that you definitely notice is that, assuming that the area that you were looking at when you were outside of it was the entrance, you might think that looking behind the ship that you would see the same thing, but you don't. There doesn't appear to be any sort of an entrance/exit anywhere around you. All you see is the clouds.
So we're in a bubble, as far as we know.
The bubbles, the bubbles, the bubbles, the bubbles.
So Captain Braun asks, he's trying to talk to Hal, and he basically spends about 5 minutes or so just, saying, Hal, are you there? Hal. And then after about 5 minutes of him doing that, suddenly Hal's voice comes back. It's kind of broken up a little bit at first. It's it's distorted a little bit.
Yeah.
And then her voice comes through, and she says, Captain Braun, I can hear you. I says, oh, Hal, good. Glad to hear that you're okay from Matisse and Arvine. Can you try and move the ship forward? And she says, yes, Captain Braun. And so you can kind of hear/feel like the hum of the spelljamming, helm as it kind of powers up a little bit. And you're used to that kind of sound and that kind of sensation as the ship goes faster. So as far as you know, the ship should be moving, but your position relative to these clouds that are all around you doesn't seem to be changing.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like the ship is moving, but it doesn't
sort
look
of
like it is.
quicksand, in a way. We're just stuck in place and not going anywhere.
Well,
it
or
sounds
the
like the ship
void.
is moving, but
The void may be moving around us, for all we know.
Kind of like to encompass us as we move
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost say if we keep steaming, do we still have course and heading? If I ask Braun to or go back to talk to Hal again, whoever navigates for us, do we still have the ability to track what direction we think we're going?
Hal is the pilot and the navigator, and
Yeah.
she normally has some kind of a bearing, but right
Okay.
now, and you can talk to her because communications have returned for some
Yeah,
reason.
so I try to reach out to her and ask her if she has bearing and compass information still, or if that's all gone dead.
She replies by saying, I have absolutely no idea which way is any direction. I have no bearing of any kind.
Hal, is the ship moving forward at all? Or does it seem to be stationary to you?
as far as all of the information that I normally have, the ship is moving forward.
Yeah.
How? The communications. Did you figure out what caused them to cut out?
No, Strax, I did not. I kept trying Braun over and over and over. And then after about 5 or 10 minutes, I just suddenly had communications again. I honestly don't know
so
what happened.
That wasn't something you did then. All right.
That's correct, Strax.
It sounds like we almost went through like a magic force field that cut out the magic for a little while.
Maybe.
That could be, Janie.
Yeah. And the only other thing is that you were trying to reach Hal as well. It's not, you're combined. If this thing is sentient, is it sensitive to other people's willpower?
Maybe. Strax, could you put light on another coin and sort of drop it along the gravity plane of the ship for me?
Sure.
See if we leave it behind
Cost
or
me
not.
another
That's a
gold
good
or
test.
whatever.
Yep. A drift test.
All right.
Blink.
Fish out another gold. Janie
Lights it up.
Janie lights it up. Okay.
and I head over to the stern and just drop it
Sort
right
of
out
drop
onto
it.
the gravity plane.
Okay, so again, like it drops and it goes beyond the gravity plane, and then it slows and then stops and then comes back up to the gravity plane, and it starts going up and down and up and down, and eventually it settles on the gravity plane. And but as it's doing that, though, it does actually slowly start to drift toward the back, toward the bow, the stern. This is the back, right, honey?
Yep.
It starts to go toward the stern, and it eventually starts to go like way back behind the ship, and you can kind of see it going off behind the ship. I mean, as far as you can tell by looking around you, again, seeing these weird clouds moving around, to you it doesn't look like you're moving, but the coin with the light on it is definitely moving away from you.
Right. So I'd almost say we keep holding the course we're at, because either we're eventually going to reach another side, or if this thing is sentient, maybe we'll reach the center, wherever maybe if there's a conscience or a being who's in the middle of this all, maybe they'll eventually reach out to us.
Okay.
Going straight ahead seems better than not moving at all.
How close are the cloud-like things that we see?
They've been at about a couple 100 feet away from you, and they don't seem to have moved from that position.
Can we touch them at all?
Are your arms 100 feet long, Greg?
Well, touche. Boo.
That coin we dropped. I could continue watching it for a while. Does it? I don't know if you said or not. Does it eventually just disappear? into the clouds, at which point we no longer see it, or does it just drift?
Well, I mean, everybody on the ship is a little nervous. I mean, you can see that a lot of some of the officers seem to be a little bit more together, but there's a certain amount of anxiety that is taking over a lot of the regular crew, and a lot of them are murmuring, and some of them even seem a little bit panicked, but then other members of the crew are trying to calm them down. And a lot of people are paying very close attention to what all of you are doing. And right now people are on the stern and they're watching the coin, and it eventually does disappear, and you hear some panicked crew members being like, when are we going to get out of here, blah blah blah, and then like Maze, the entertainer, the changeling, he's over and he's like trying to calm people. He's telling people stories and things, and he's trying to entertain people so they're not panicking.
Is he playing music?
A useful bard.
He does have his mandolin, and he's like reciting poetry, and he's strumming in between certain verses, and he's trying to entertain people and calm them down.
I asked him to play some inspirational music. By inspirational, I mean temporary hit point giving music.
So he keeps trying to calm the crew, and then you hear Hal's voice again, sort of magically all around you, and it says, "Captain Braun, something is coming up ahead of us."
Oh.
So the entire crew shifts toward the bow of the ship, and you can see a very small, what looks like a glowing object up ahead of you. And as everybody, very, very specifically keeps on watching this object, it gets closer and closer and closer. And as it gets very close to the ship, it looks like the same coin that you dropped that went behind you.
Is it the coin I just dropped or the coin I threw in earlier?
Are they different coins?
I guess it would be hard to tell. but this one appeared to just be sort of floating there in space, and you guys just kind of came up on it.
Is it glowing? Because Janie would only be able to keep her light on one thing at once.
Good point.
That is correct, and it is glowing.
All right.
That's almost the worst answer.
High five.
That was
I'm not going out there to get it.
That was very smart, though, Kate, because you can only have one light going at a time. So why don't you take inspiration for that?
Oh, thank you.
Ooh. Smurfy.
So yeah, it appears to be the same coin. It went way back behind the ship, and then it sort of came from the front of the ship.
So we are in a loop of some kind, like some kind of centripetal force is moving things in
or like a being wants to keep us in thrall until a certain point.
Okay, so as you guys are contemplating, what is happening, the meaning of this, there's this ship that suddenly comes through the clouds, and it just suddenly appears there, and it comes bursting through the clouds, and you are familiar enough with ships that you recognize this as a Neogi ship, and the Neogi are the people that you fought who tried to invade the rock when you first got there.
I thought you were about to say that we were going to counter our own ship.
So it's that enslaving race. And it's a Neogi death spider, and it comes through the clouds, and it launches a catapult at the Star Runner, and this rock smashes off the side of the Star Runner's hull.
That's not very friendly.
Captain Braun says, "Somebody on the catapult! Right away! Return fire!" So people are kind of looking around and panicked. Do any of you want to fire the ballista? I'm sorry, the catapult.
Who's closest? Strax is closest. So.
Janie's volunteering.
Oh boy! What skill does it take to do it, though?
Okay, so
how far away are they?
So just the ship flies right up on you. They're only maybe 60 feet away.
Oh, she could light it up with other things at that point.
Say, Janie, why?
Do you have fireballs?
Ships and fire don't get along.
What's the range on your cantrips there, Janie?
Sorry, I was swallowing.
I appreciate
Pizza.
that.
The longest cantrip I have is Ray of Frost, which is 60 feet.
Okay.
I mean, I have a laser.
120.
You said 120 feet, right?
Magic missile is 120, yeah.
And I have the laser rifle, so if can I see any targets while someone else who needs to launch the ballista does the ballista?
I guess I can ballista.
There we go. Seems appropriate.
It does, kind of, yeah.
Okay, so what are you guys doing? This is all happening very quickly.
It's all very quickly. Well, I'm very quickly going over the ballista.
Yeah.
Take an aim.
I'm pulling my laser rifle and looking for anything that I could target.
I cast magic missile at the cannon that just shot at us.
At the catapult?
At the catapult.
Yeah.
Okay. So Janie casts a magic missile, and before any of the ballistas or the catapult or anything like that goes off, Janie's how many missiles, Janie? 3?
3. I'll do it level 1. Yeah.
Okay. So these 3 missiles go flying out and targeting the catapult on the other ship, Janie. Okay. So the missiles hit the catapult, and then the catapult explodes almost as if it was full of black powder or something, and then it causes this chain reaction, and the entire Neogi ship explodes.
Oh, nice!
Nicely done. Oh no! Does she?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh, yeah, you have to roll see if you
Oh yeah!
I don't know when.
Oh no! Wild surging.
Oh no!
Apropos.
Teleports off the
All right, so you gonna roll it?
All right, Sarah's
Yeah.
rolling the die.
Yep.
Round and round and round she goes.
Where she stops, nobody knows.
We can't see it anyway. It's too small.
It's cool though. What'd you get?
29.
29.
All right,
Oh boy. You have the book?
It's in D&D Beyond.
Oh. Oh boy.
You just have to pull it up. Hold on. I teleport up to 60 feet in an unoccupied space of my choice.
Oh,
Awesome.
Okay.
overboard.
Again. Not over.
Okay. So as the magic
You're
missiles
like off
come,
the bow of the ship.
as the magic missiles come flying out, there's suddenly this magical burst of energy around Janie, and she disappears and then reappears at some other point
On the other side of the ship.
on the other side of the ship.
I look over my shoulder at her and go,
Okay.
again?
Well, at least he didn't end up out the overboard this time.
No, I point at the wreckage of the other ship and go, that was awesome.
Okay, so Captain Braun
That was a good hit.
seems very kind of contemplative, and he's like, I don't understand how that magical effect could destroy an entire Nyogi ship. That's kind of not how ships are built.
Well, have you met Jamie?
Do we have any ability to check after,
Well, It's the same thing for all of you. I mean, you all know that you can't blow up a ship with a magic missile.
So I look over the side of our ship. Is the damage from the rock real? Like, can we see an actual
good question.
dent in the hull?
You look at it, and there doesn't appear to be any damage.
Oh,
Okay.
Let's imagine.
So I motion to Braun and I say, come look at this. That rock that hit us didn't do any real damage. I wonder if that whole thing was an illusion.
There is definitely something very unusual about this entire situation. And just as he finishes saying that, you see another ship come through the clouds, and it appears to be a galleon ship that is just like the one that you guys are on.
Yeah.
And it comes through the clouds from sort of what's the right side of the ship? I should know this.
Starboard. Yeah.
Starboard. Okay, so it comes from
Yep.
like the starboard side, and it basically just kind of like nice and smoothly pulls up alongside. It's maybe like 40 feet off the starboard side, and it just kind of stops there, and you don't see anybody on the decks anywhere.
I fire the ballista at it. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
It's just kind of hanging there right now.
I wonder if
it
this,
stops, and you don't see anybody on it.
I wonder if this is an invitation.
A rather odd one.
I mean, we could send a group over there if we have communication still working. We could see if there's something there that wants to talk to us.
It's not very far from the ship.
Yeah, I mean, Strax, is this within range of any of your detect magic abilities?
How far did you say it was?
It's 40 feet.
Could we pull up within
Ah,
the...
I'd have to get out there a little bit.
Well, can we pull 10 feet closer? If we're within 30, you can do it, right?
Yeah.
So I turned it to Braun and say, can Hal get us 10 feet closer? Does she feel comfortable with that?
Yes, I can, Arvine.
If you want to give me 10 minutes, I can see what I can.
Okay, so the whole ship just kind of very gently drifts toward the starboard side.
Okay.
And it gets within 30 feet.
All right. You guys keep poking at it. Give me 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, I
we
don't
can just
wanna-
we can just say that you go through the 10 minutes unless anybody
Yeah,
has
because I'm not
anything
going to try
Pull out my
throwing
little spyglass,
anything at it,
start
because if it
tinkering
blows
with it a
up,
little
I would
bit.
be sad.
Looked in my spyglass.
It's also close to us.
If-
Yeah.
if-
my
If
monocle.
people don't have anything else they want to do, Strax, you finish your detect magic.
All right. Well, got my little monocle. Taking a look. Anything?
There is nothing. You don't sense the presence of magic within 30 feet of you.
All right. Well, ship itself isn't magical,
Mm.
interestingly enough. So,
turn to Braun and say, "Do you want us to go check it out?"
Yes. I don't think that presents an immediate danger, and with the lifeboats being where they're at right now, the ship is literally only about 10 feet from our lifeboats.
Yeah. So I guess let's just cruise over. Yeah, and actually, if you're okay with it, we'll.
Hang on for just 1 minute.
Okay.
I think I might got something that might be useful here. Head down below deck for just a minute, and when I come back up, following behind me is this small mechanical, what looks like kind of a big wolf to the rest of you guys. Basically, it's a mechanical warg.
Nice.
Had some leftover parts from when I got GH88 put together. Came up with this little guy. I'll send him over.
What do you call it?
I haven't come up with a name right.
Poppy!
I love it. Old Steel Defender.
Right.
It's got to have a name. That's cool.
Yeah, it's Strax's Steel Defender, yes.
Okay. So, do you have an ability to send him over there without the lifeboats?
Sure,
because otherwise, I'm okay with
that close.
We could tether a lifeboat to the ship and just cruise over.
It's
10
not
feet
that
away.
far away.
You could put him in the catapult.
Yeah.
Aww.
Poor puppy!
So what are you guys doing?
So, yeah, I mean, we're not quite close enough for him to be able to make that jump. So,
right.
But,
I mean, Hal comes magically over the airwaves and says, I can move us a little bit closer, and the lifeboats will be very close to the other ship. You could probably just jump right across.
will probably work best, Hal.
I mean, that or if you got like a gangplank or something, we could just put something deck to deck too, but I don't know.
There is a gangplank. I mean, the lifeboats, there's 2 on one side and 2 on the other.
Okay.
And I believe I said they were 15 by 20.
Yeah.
I think is what I said.
Yep.
So there is a space in between 2 of the lifeboats on the starboard side where you can put like the gangplank and just walk across if that's what you guys want to do.
I'd like to do, let's send the Defender over on that and then we can follow if we have to.
Okay.
If you're okay with that, Strax.
Yeah, that works for me. As long as we can.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get close enough, put the gangplank down, you send the Steel Defender over. John, does Strax have any sort of connection with Steel Defender's senses?
No. Basically, I can as long as he can hear me, I can give him directions. But he's not like a familiar. I can't see through his eyes and stuff.
Okay.
It's more along the lines of see if he goes over there and doesn't fall through the deck.
Okay. So if this was like your 26th attempt at making one of those, it could be SD26, sort of like GH88, or something like that. Sarah said something.
Or it could be Puppy.
Or it could be Puppy. All right. So you send the Steel Defender over, and it basically starts walking along the deck of the ship, and it's sort of just investigating things as a Steel Defender might. And
I can direct him, tell him, check that out, sound if there's something over there, that kind of thing.
Okay. Doesn't seem to really find anything. It's just sort of walking around.
Well, seems solid enough, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Braun says, if you want to go investigate, please do.
Yeah. I guess we should.
Don't have any other leads at the moment.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So has the bard sung something that gives temporary hit points at the start of this day or not?
He will come over to you before you go across the gangplank.
Okay.
And he will sing you a song of inspiration. Right. So you all get the 3 temporary hit points.
Say thank you, Maze.
3, you said?
3 temporary hit points.
Okay.
He says, but of course, I will inspire you as much as I can.
French.
You inspire me to.
Aww.
Does he play an accordion?
Sacre bleu.
What is this?
Okay, so you guys go across the gangplank, and you're basically on the other main deck of the other galleon, which, for all intents and purposes, looks like the same ship that you have. So what do you want to do?
How is it an exact replica? Like, does it have a missing chunk in its hull that we can see when we walk over?
You read my mind. I was just about to ask about that. See if I could go over and see if that chunk of hull was missing.
You kind of dangle yourself over the edge a little bit there as best as you can, and it looks like it is not missing a chunk of the ship.
Okay.
No, it looks like it's just same. It's not an exact replica. It's just same make.
Okay. All right. Does it have the same weapons on the top?
Yeah, and it basically appears to be sort of like the same make and model.
Yeah, but that's like standard loadout. So okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Helm.
All right. Are you testing your comms?
No, I'm saying we should go to the helm.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess let's explore. Let's go to the helm first, and then we can sweep the rest of the ship from there if we have to.
Okay. So you go down to the next deck and to the stern of the ship, and you go to the spelljammer helm room, and it looks just like the way it does. The room that you were just in with Hal. It looks the same. There's nobody sitting there. You don't hear anybody on the crew. But what you do hear is as you're exploring in that area, you investigate the room where the spelljamming helm is, and Matisse, you hear the sound of Arvine screaming. You can hear the sound of her voice screaming, but it's coming from like somewhere else on the ship. I mean, she's standing right next to you, but you can hear her screaming. And Arvine, you hear the same thing. You hear Matisse screaming, even though he's standing right next to you. But it's but it's coming from somewhere else on the ship. And Strax and Janie, you hear each other screaming somewhere else on the ship. But none of you hear anything else. You just hear that one specific person screaming on the ship.
And we don't hear each other talking to ourselves, or
you hear everything you normally hear. But you don't hear the sound of Janie screaming, Greg. Matisse doesn't hear Janie.
Right.
You don't hear Strax. All you hear is Arvine screaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I look at Matisse. I hear you screaming from elsewhere on the ship, but I see you. You're right here.
You're here, but you're there. But you're here, but you're there.
You didn't teleport again, did you, Jenny?
I don't think so.
Matisse, are you hearing this?
I think we lost.
I see you next to me, but I don't know why I hear you screaming, and you're not in danger.
Okay.
All right, so let's pick one of the screams to investigate first.
Oh my god.
Well, we don't even know if they're. Well, can we tell? Let's just go find one. If they're all in the same place, we'll know what we got.
So let's head towards the one that I'm hearing from Matisse first.
They're all just kind of permeating the ship.
Oh boy.
So they're nowhere distinct.
They're all over the ship.
Non-directional is a good way to put it, yeah.
I kind of look at the others and be, okay, we need to stay in sight of each other clearly.
Split up and look for clues.
Thank you, Strax. No.
Why don't you all give me either individual investigation checks, or maybe within pairs you can have one of you do an investigation check with advantage.
I will help you with investigation because
you being
who's you, Greg?
Arvine, since.
Okay, well my investigation is -1, but it's probably
mine's -2.
Okay, all right. And then let's
I'm really good at investigation, so if somebody wants to give me a hand.
So if Janie helps you, then she's probably really good at investigation too. So it might make the most sense for us to help Strax and Janie, respectively.
Yeah, it might. Let's give her
she's got good. It's an intelligence quality, I think, right?
All right, so I guess I could help Strax.
So, Janie, you are an intelligent person, which means I'm guessing you have better investigation than me or Matisse.
My investigation's +1.
Okay, so I will help you, and I say, Matissa, go ahead and help Strax.
Okay. So I help Strax.
All right, let's have a look around.
Oh, helping. Right.
I'm a helper.
Okay, so I got a 15.
I got a 19.
Okay.
All right, so Strax, with your role and a little bit of knowledge of how things are made, you happen to notice that, like, you take a really close look at the material that the ship is made out of, which you would assume is just wood, but it actually appears.
Is it the rock? Is it the rock?
It appears to be some sort of material that
You need to stop talking.
that you don't recognize. You actually don't understand what the material is. It looks like to most people they would not be able to distinguish it from regular wood, but you get a really good look at it. You take your magnifying glass, maybe some of your other artificial tools, and maybe scrape off a little bit, and it's like it almost comes off in like a powder. You have no idea what it is, but it looks like wood. You think it would be wood, but it's not. It's some weird material that you are not familiar with.
I'll take a chunk for a sample.
Okay.
Stick it in the bag.
Okay.
Just break off something.
All right.
All right.
At some point during your investigations, you guys get to the captain's cabin, and is there anybody in particular who might like enter a room first? It doesn't really matter too much, but I'm just curious if like one of the
Not
fighters.
me.
Yeah,
Usually
I'd
we
be
would.
fairly bold.
I'd check
Matisse, probably.
Matisse is the tanks, so probably Matisse.
So Matisse, you guys get to the captain's cabin, and you open up the door to the captain's cabin, and you actually see the deck that you're standing on. Even though you're standing on it, you open the door and you see the same deck on the other side of the door.
What is going on here?
All of you see this as well. Just Matisse is in the front,
So
but
it's
all of you see
basically
this as
like
well.
we're looking into the same hallway that we're standing in on the other side of the door rather than a cabin.
Well, right now it's the open main deck is behind. You're standing on the main deck,
Right.
and the captain's cabin is off the main deck.
Okay.
So when you open up the door, you see the main deck again, and you can see like the cloudy miasma, surrounding the outside of the ship as you see it through that door.
Do we see ourselves entering the door?
There is nobody else standing on the other side of the door. No.
I put a mark in the wall. Just kind of carve a mark in the wall, right before the
Sure.
door.
Sure.
I mean, have we checked
Or
the
on
rest
the
of the
floor.
ship? Because I would hesitate. Like, if this is another portal, I don't think we should step through until we check everything
I was
else.
going to throw something through there and see what happens to it.
Yeah, toss a coin.
Yeah.
Throw me!
Toss some coin.
All right.
to
So
your
Matisse tosses a
galleon.
coin in there, and it just hits the floor.
Hmm.
You want to tell Hal what's going on?
I will be right back.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
even know how to begin to describe this.
I don't think Hal's going to be any help.
She's not going to be any help, but if we randomly disappear, then at least they have some idea of what's happening. That's
Yeah, good point. Important to check in. Hey, Hal, can you hear me?
There's no response.
Well, might be too late. If we're standing on the main deck, I'm assuming we can see our ship
You can.
next to the ship.
You can see the ship. You can see the crew, but
Right.
but you use the communicator brooch, and there's no response from Hal.
Looking
That's-
through the door, can I see our ship?
Looking through the door, can you see the ship? If you kind of angle yourself a little bit to one side, you can just barely catch like the other end of the ship.
I still think we should explore the extent of the first ship that we found rather than the new one that's through the door.
Oh, we've been kind of storyboarding this. How much of the ship have we explored?
Yeah. I'm just going to tell you that you don't find anything else of particular interest.
Okay.
Go through the door.
Is the gangplank still there?
The gangplank is still there. Yes.
Okay.
Janie, are you walking through the door?
You guys want to go through, or
ST01. Come
let's
on.
see.
Let's go.
Yeah,
All right.
let's
Janie
send
tries to
something
push her way to
ahead.
the front.
Bean kind of grabs her and holds her back
Ow.
and says, "Come on, let's not be
Thank
quite
you.
that rash."
ST01. Go on through.
SG0. Who is that?
SD.
SD.
SD01.
SD01.
Shield Defender 01.
All right.
Copy.
All right. So
ST01 goes through the door.
the Steel Defender goes through the door, and
And Janie follows.
No, Janie's getting held back.
Janie keeps trying to get through, but everybody keeps holding her back.
Matisse pulls her collar and pulls her back.
Her collar.
Well, whatever.
Her hood. She does have a hood. She has a hood, but
So the Steel Defender goes through, and it's just kind of walking around on the other deck.
Janie, this could be dangerous for you. Just stay back here a moment.
Already died once. I might as well do it again.
And if I
What?
look behind us, I don't see the Steel Defender.
No, you don't.
But I
that's
can
something new.
see our ship through there.
Yes, you can.
Sort of.
Weird. Okay.
So the Steel Defender is gone.
No,
Well,
it's
we
right.
can-
It's
we
right
can
there.
See it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right there.
I guess we might as well go through and check the other side. And what do you
See
think,
you on the other
Strax?
side.
See you on the other side.
Space
Break
cowboy.
on through to the other side.
Break on through.
What do you think, Strax?
Break on through to the other side.
Well, I don't see that
I
we
mean,
have anywhere else to go.
We're not getting anywhere on this side, so I guess let's go.
We're st-
Let's go check the other side.
Okay, let's check the other side. So the
prop
group.
the door open.
Okay, that's fine. So you prop the door open. Everybody goes through, and you see the mark that you made on the floor, Strax.
Interesting.
You see
Reflected
the
to
mark.
the other side.
You see the mark you made on the floor. Yep. And you see the Star Runner and the crew, and everything looks like it was when you were on the other deck.
Are we still facing the captain's door?
Well,
Or
when
we
you walk,
just
when you walk through, it's behind you.
Let's have a-
Okay. So we basically come through and come like we went into the room and came back out.
That's kind of what it feels like. Yes.
Okay.
It seems to me
I'm gonna
that
hop
this
back.
is some kind of mirror thing going on, maybe. Like we're in a mirror.
Hang on 1 second. I head back over to the gangplank
Okay.
Oh my God.
and hop back over to the Star Runner real quick.
Okay.
He's splitting the party,
Yeah.
guys.
What was it?
We're on the other side of
Yeah,
the
what
gangplank.
did you just see happen? Or I can ask one of the crewmen, whoever happens to be there. I assume
Okay.
somebody's watching.
Watching
Okay.
us? Yeah.
Yeah. One of the crew members tells you that you all walked inside the door, and then you all walked back out the door.
We just walked in, walked back out.
Yeah.
Huh.
I wonder how that works when we couldn't all walk in and out at the same time. This is really weird.
So you suddenly hear Hal's voice say, Strax, are you there?
I'm here, Hal. When did you
Oh.
lose me?
Once you went onto the ship, I lost the ability to communicate with you.
Yeah. It's a pretty weird ship, Hal.
I would agree,
It's-
Strax.
We're kind of standing on the other side of the gangplank, waiting to see like if you gesture us to come back over, if you're going to come back over with us.
Can I hear you guys?
Just from standing on.
Hey, Arvine, can you hear me all right?
Can I hear him?
I mean, you can hear the sound from across the ships. It just sounds like she's
Okay.
not far away.
Yeah,
All right,
well,
so it's
I'm
just-
not
so it's
really
just
right
a match
across
to
the
the communications
gangplank.
system.
Yeah, so
All right. Well,
Um,
what we've seen so far, Hal, is whatever this ship is, it's not a normal well, yeah, understatement to say it's not a normal ship. It's not a normal construction, I should say. Whatever it's made of is
It's magical.
nothing I've ever seen before. And it seems to have this really weird way of bending space through it. I don't know.
It's magic.
Like I said, it's like a mirror of some kind where you're
It's
You ever play the game Portal? No.
reflection.
Yes.
Do we
I'm
get
not familiar
cake?
with that game, Strax.
Do we get cake?
Ooh, cake.
Is the
I'd
cake
love-
I only
alive?
play Portal with Strax.
I'd love some cake.
But we can't seem to find anybody alive on the ship. It just kind of is.
Okay, she says, Strax, something unusual is beginning to happen, and the three of you, Matisse, Arvine, and Janie, the entire galleon ship that you're on, it starts to become kind of transparent, and you can see the clouds through it,
I run back over.
and then it disappears
With us on it?
with you guys on it. So basically, you guys are, you guys fall to the gravity plane of the Star Runner,
Well, at least you didn't go with it.
and then you go below, and then you come back up, and then you bob up and down until you eventually.
All right, get him a rope.
All right, so the crew gets together a bunch of ropes and starts throwing them out to each of you and pulling you back in.
Do we
Janie's
lose the
just gonna
gangplank?
bounce on the gravity field like a trampoline for a little while. Boing, boing, boing.
Okay, so you all get back over to the ship, and Captain.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, okay. Finish the thing.
I was just gonna. Captain Braun says to all of you, he says, "If I didn't know any better, I'd say that somebody is studying us.
Yeah,
Something, perhaps."
I get that vibe too.
Okay. My question was the sample I took. Do I still have it?
No,
Okay, that disappeared too.
it appears to be. It is not where you had it. It's gone.
Wow.
I stuck it in the bag. So
Yeah.
it's not.
It is
You
not
lost
there.
your wood.
Crap. So, wow, interesting. So it even disappeared from within an interdimensional pocket.
It would appear that way. You reach in and you
It's
think of the
like-
item, and you don't get anything.
You don't get it.
If there is a being driving this space and all of these tests, so to speak, clearly it is more powerful than a normal being, because you didn't detect any magic from that whole ship that just disappeared.
No, the ship itself wasn't magic.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'm gonna guess that dimensional pockets aren't a thing for this being. I don't think they care.
I am just glad that this thing didn't explode when we landed here. That's all I'm saying.
That's true.
Okay, so
I'll take what we can get.
as you're all discussing this, with each other and with Captain Braun and the rest of the crew, again, some of them being very panicked, and Maze is doing his best to calm everybody.
And me talking of explosions isn't helping.
You see a vaguely humanoid face appears in front of the Star Runner. It has eyes, a mouth, and the vague impression of a nose. It speaks in a voice loud enough for all to hear.
Is it Voldemort?
Nope.
It's not weird.
I'm getting serious vibes of another homage.
Yes,
but whatever.
I think I know what's going
I've had
on
an idea
here.
for a while that that's where we were going. This is cool.
And it says, "There are many species among you. My desire is to learn about them. I have been studying your responses to various stimuli. Is it true that many of your species have a limited existence?"
Take the goblin. I'm kidding.
Define limited.
I kind of turn to Braun and see if he wants to carry on this conversation, or does he want us to answer? I mean, he's the captain.
Braun says, "Yes, we have limited existences."
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, there are constructs. I mean, I'm not sure what the
Right.
lifespan of the Warforged is, but
I kind of like give a side eye to Matisse, but don't say anything.
So the face says, I wish to study this concept of a limited existence. And then suddenly this creature appears on the deck of the ship. It is medium-sized and has leathery black skin pulled tight over its gaunt frame and a curved horn protruding from the back of its elongated skull. It lunges forward and attacks. That's the end of Mysteries and Revelations Part 1. Stay tuned for Part 2. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave us a review anywhere this podcast can be found. Our social media links, plus additional content, can be found on our website at knightsofroleplay.com. Please tell your friends about Knights of Roleplay, an adventuring podcast, and spread the word through social media. Your help and support are greatly appreciated.